Valerie, please read the statement of public notice.
Order. Please take notice that adequate notice of this meeting was provided in accordance with NJSA 10:4-8 and NJSA 10:4-10 as follows. The notice of the meeting was promptly posted on the bulletin board at the municipal building located at 225 Main Street, Little Falls, New Jersey, on January 8, 2026. Copy of the notice was sent via email to the North Jersey Herald News on same date. Additionally, a copy of the notice was filed in the office of the township clerk. Please note that this meeting is being taped, therefore we have to out there the microphones.
Thank you. Please poll the board.
Vice Chairman Barry,
Here.
Mr. Karat,
Here.
Mr. Luke Demiano,
Here.
Mr. Calvo,
Here.
Mr. Seaver, Mr. Poster,
Here.
Mayor Deputy, Councilman Silver, Dr. Athy, Mr. Dolan,
Here.
Mr. Reno, Mr. Jordan, Mr. Rivera,
Here.
Mr. Koblars, Mr. Barry, Mr. Kilpatrick.
Here. Thank you. May I have a motion for the approval of the minutes of the January 8th, 2026 for both the reorganization meeting and the regular meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Please poll the board.
Vice Chairman Barry,
Yes.
Mr. Karat,
Yes.
Mr. Luke Demiano,
Yes.
Mr. Calvo,
Yes.
Mr. Poses,
Yes.
Mr. Dolan,
Yes.
Mr. Remo,
Yes.
Jordan, Chairman Kilpatrick.
Chair votes yes, the minutes are approved. We have no resolutions to memorialize. Mr. Barry is going to be 15 minutes late. Now, there we go.
There he is.
There's no rush. Take your time. You're up. Well, we will give you time to put your papers on.
It's very prompt this evening.
Very prompt.
Ready to go?
Ready to go.
Okay.
We have first application up is the public hearing to renew and consider the adoption of an amended housing element and fair share plan element of the township's master plan. Mr. Barrett.
Sure.
You swear from the testimony that you're about to give before this board is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
So you know the Lord, but just put on the record.
Sure. Yeah, John Barry, licensed planner, the township planner, and I prepared the amended housing element and fair share plan that's been on file and was noticed for this evening's hearing. So basically the purpose of this, we had the hearing for the housing plan back in June of last year, at which point we adopted a plan that was then uploaded to the program, this statewide affordable housing dispute resolution program. During the course of the last 7 or so months, I guess there's been there was a challenge filed to the plan by the Fair Share Housing Center, the statewide advocacy organization that essentially probably intervened in their way in just about every one of these cases statewide. And their challenge to the Little Falls plan was very mild, I'll put it that way. They basically requested a little bit of cleanup. They identified a project from the township's prior round, so from years past, that hasn't come to fruition, and asked us to find something to take its place. So that's what we did. We took a look at what's been done, and over the last few years, the township's had several developments that have come online that have actually produced units that essentially what we did was we just moved around some of the numbers in the plan. So to address that prior round issue, there was a project on Lackawanna Avenue that had been identified to produce several units. We counted for 5 credits toward the prior round RDP, the realistic development potential for that round. Nothing's happened with that project. There had been an application before the board some years ago. It's at this point in limbo. So Fair Share asked us to replace that with something a little more real. And so we took some of the credits from the Citizen project that's up and occupied and just used those to fill in that gap. So just sliding from one to the other. And then we took that Lackawanna Avenue site and put it into the unmet need bucket, which is a little more aspirational rather than concrete. So that was one change. The next change, we have a call for a slight increase in density, the AMF zone, the affordable multifamily zone, that is it includes several properties around the Overlook Tower office building and then the parking lot portion of that property. And that was zoned as an overlay zone for the 3rd round, which means you have the commercial zoning that's in place, but also an option for an affordable housing development as a second option instead of the commercial zone. Nothing's happened with that property. Obviously, it's still occupied as an office building, still active and in good use. But as kind of a means to satisfy the request from Fair Share Housing Center, we are going to have an ordinance introduced with the governing body to increase the permitted density in that overlay zone from 35 units per acre to 40 units per acre. I think the net result of that would be an extra 5 or 6 affordable units in the scheme of things, if it ever does happen that there's a development there. And then the last few changes were really just to clean up there were several summary tables that have all of this tabulation of the credits over the different rounds. Just we're swapping in, swapping out, and changing some of the numbers. So we cleaned up those tables. And then we updated some of the language related to the statewide administrative code, the rules that govern affordable housing at state level. When the plan was written last year and adopted in June, a lot of the changes that have since been instituted at the state level to those rules weren't in place yet. So as of November, December of 2025, there were changes to several sections of the administrative code. So we just updated some references and some language to indicate that those changes have taken place and that the township is going to update its ordinances accordingly. So that's it. Very, very minor changes, not identifying new sites. We're not, rezoning massive parts of town. Nothing of any real consequence is changing from June. It's just a matter of a few little cleanup items as requested by Fair Share Housing Center and consistent with the township's agreement that has been entered into with them. And then there'll be some ordinances to follow just to line up what I just mentioned. That's all.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all the work you put into that. Counselor, what's our responsibility in this matter?
Board has.
Very good. Any questions to the board members?
Approximately what percentage of our obligation for fair housing has the municipality met? Do you know?
It's not a very large percentage. So the overall obligation over the course of the last 40 years is, let me see, it's a lot. So the round 4 obligation with the number that we settled on was 174 units for just the 10 years from now through 2035. Prior to that, there was a cumulative obligation of 552 units. So all told, about 725 units give or take. And we've got about 60 or so credits between the units that have been built and some bonus credits that have been achieved. So with a little less than 10%, something like that.
Is that fairly typical for most municipalities?
For places like Little Falls that are largely built out, it is. And a lot of the tools that we use to address the obligation reflect that there's not vacant land available to just go out there and build something on. You know, if you're gonna, and we see this right in town, if something's happening, chances are it's replacing something that was there before. So, you know, that redevelopment process is really how units may be created in the future, because you're not going to go out and buy an old farm and put up a subdivision. So it's, yeah, this, I think Little Falls has done a good job, both historically and with this round. And the fact that we didn't see any more substantial challenge to the plan reflects that, you know, that what this wasn't a big glowing target like some municipalities have been. So I think we've done a good job.
Thank you.
You stated 174 units. What was the original number?
Well, the 174, we brought down the, what was the original number? It was originally
Was it
it was 285. We looked at how that number was allocated based on the availability of land and the other factors. After reviewing that, we brought it down to 174. And then when doing the plan, the actual realistic development potential number that we came up with was 3 units, because, as I said, there's no land available. So we've targeted potential redevelopment through these overlay zones, and that's our obligation.
When did Brown Forge start?
It began as of July 1st of 2025. So it's
Okay, and prior to that was round 3. And if I understand correctly, we met our obligation for round 3, correct?
well, again, the same process of looking at the amount of land that's available and adjusting the number down through the realistic development potential based on the amount of vacant and developable land. So the township satisfied what it was obligated to do. There's still this large number of units that are considered unmet need. So if there were a project that came along, we may have to consider it in that context. It's not like you had 400 units you had to provide and you provided 400 units. It's that we've planned for what we can realistically accommodate.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions for the board members? May I have a motion to open up the meeting to the public?
Motion.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting is now open to the public for comments only on the application before us. Anyone wishing to come forward? No one coming forward. I close the meeting to the public. Counselor?
At this time, resolution, which adopt and approve the amended housing element, the amendment to the township's master plan. And I think that was very, all the municipalities are on the clock. They have that was done by March 15th
Mm-hmm.
by Mr. Barry.
Correct. Yes.
So this is a very busy month for planners and municipalities. There's every board meeting you're going to, you're doing from there, it's going. So, I did support the resolution, so if you're 75, you can call for a motion to adopt and approve the amended housing on the fairship thing, and also to adopt the resolution of the same.
Very well. May I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Please poll the board.
Vice Chairman Barry,
Yes.
Karan,
Yes.
Mr. Luke Daniano,
Yes.
Mr. Falco,
Yes.
Mr. Pelchis.
Yes.
Dr. Abdi,
Yes.
Dolan,
Yes.
Mr. Rema.
Yeah.
Jordan, Mr. Kilpatrick, Chairman Kilpatrick.
Chairman votes yes. The application for the amendment and the immediate resolution are both approved. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Barry.
Thank you.
First application is Martarana Enterprises, LLC.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, and members of the board. Council is Anthony Fiorello. My office is at 16 Burger Street, Total Borough. I'm here this evening on behalf of Martirano Enterprises. Premises are located at 5453 Main Avenue, in Little Falls. Premises consist of two lots, lot 11 and lot 12. Lot of, the entire parcel approximates 2 acres. The lot 11 has no improvements on it. It consists of a parking lot. It's in your RB1 zone, residential zone. There's no construction there. There's nothing proposed to be built there in this house. About 25% of the total value of acreage. Lot number 12 is the bigger parcel of property on which already exists office uses and industrial warehouse use. The applicant has been before the board at least 6 times over the past several years. Started back in 1989 when Mr. Martirano, the principal of Martirano Enterprises, did not even own the property. Foundry INC at that time came before the board and he petitioned the board to have the RB1, excuse me, your light industry zone, which in the bigger portion of property lies, to be used for general retail as well as office use. And the board granted approval at that time for general retail as well as office use. Nothing ever happened with that. The approvals lay fallow for many years. Mr. Martirano came before the board, I think, representative on most of the agency. 2004, we petitioned to have a karate studio. That was a service use, not allowable because you could only use business office space in that particular zone. We came before the board again in 2006 for retail food. That's not allowable in that district because it only permits office use. This is a general retail use house. Then again, there was actually 2 years ago, we came before the board for a service use for eyebrow and beauty culture. That was allowable. That was permitted by the board to use as a retail service establishment. And then again, moving before the board to have a karate studio come in through one of the units. Again, that's a service as opposed to an office. So it has a history on this site of the board granting permission for retail service establishments where the zone limits office use. The back portion of the property, the rear portion, I guess that would be the southernmost portion, has been and always will be, remains industrial. There's a warehouse back there. At the time immemorial, it was a foundry. So there's warehousing and some industrial manufacturing of components. Nothing is to be done with respect to that at all. Now, this application proposes no expansion of buildings, nothing going to be added to the building. Anything that's going to occur with respect to this application is going to be in the interior, in the use of the existing floor space that's there. The first thing that's asked for is there's a unit on the easternmost side of the premises. It's a plumbing supply operation. The business office is there. It's a rather large unit. It's proposed that that be divided in half. Strangely enough, there's bathrooms in each of those 2 units. It's almost made for. So frankly, it doesn't require any action of the board. It requires an application made for interior change. I have a dividing wall and whatever has to, doors that open and shut and bathrooms that are already there. With respect to the second floor of the premises that are parallel to Main Street, it's proposed that 2 of those office units be transposed into 2 apartments. You can see from the plans, the apartments are rather small. I think they're 1,100 to 1,200 square feet, 1 bedroom, 1 bath, and a kitchen and dining living area, small units. With respect to the other units that are there, the so-called office units and those that have been transmuted into retail, it is proposed that with respect to those units that retail as well as service establishments be allowed. Your planner has looked at it and made a really wise suggestion, namely that we would limit our use to those uses that are applicable in your B zone. Your B zone permits office, retail, and services. So that in essence is the application, to allow Mr. Martirano to convert some of the office space that's there and some of them that are non-rentable and have a history of not being rented. They can be turned into, the B zone, either retail or service type of establishments that have been historically, used on the site. That in our, application has given you copies of the resolutions for those past, applications before the board. And I'd like to pull Mr. Martirano first, just to give an overview. Testimony, sorry, put on test, but I say it's testimony.
Mr. Joy, I don't swear from the testimony that we got to the service and the. You felt in the third option to get it correct, and
Mr. Martirano, are you, associated with Martirano Enterprises? Are you a principal of that, LLC? Are you authorized to speak with your there be at? Martirano owned these this, property for some period of time, over 6 months. I think you, the took title in October of 2020. True? 2,000 people. 2,000, okay. Testing. During that period of time, you appeared before this board on many occasions, and historically have, made applications, that embrace the, summary that I gave to the board. Is that correct?
Correct.
What is located in the premises at present in terms of the non-industrial portion?
Office store for HVAC, plumbing, something. So
Is that the store that you propose to divide in half?
yes,
That's correct. Okay. Is there bathroom facilities in each of the halves that you proposed? It's already there on the setup for that. What would be required to separate and make 2 stores out of the one?
just speaking to a state agent, said that instead of having one large store, something about two, a little bit more rental.
And that you would require a petition wall to divide that 1 store into 2.
Correct. There actually is a petition wall in there already, but they splitting the offices.
It requires very little.
Once you move it over.
What else is located in the place?
To the right of that is the laundromat, which is 153. To the right of that, in the corner of the driveway is the art and Pino, nameplates and stuff, wood and painted. Above that is Pearl Fitness, which has been there for 2007. To the left of that, the dance studio, which had a dance ballerina. Effects. Coming inside the parking lot, nail salon. To the right of the nail salon, in the center of the building would be the they lease out equipment for handicap, wheelchair, porta potties, bedpans, stuff like that. To the right of that would be FedEx, yes, shipping building. Second floor would be the left, the eyebrow, what Mr. was spoke about, and to the right of that is a tax.
So there's a combination of service uses, retail uses, and office uses, existing present. Okay. Propose that you'll be allowed to, utilize all of those spaces you just described as is permitted in the B zone, namely for, retail, service, as well as office use. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now, does that require any external additions, or emendations to the property? No. You do propose that you do something with the facade of the building.
Yes, well, we were, when we were here back in August. August,
It was in the summer.
during the summer, August or July, we were here. We had I was testifying. sounded like the board wanted a more residential look to the building that's currently there, so I testified that we're gonna remove the roofs around the back, coming around to shingle roofs, gutters, leads and drains. That was all done to the point that where we can have to stop it. It's a tenant. That's why we stopped. We didn't continue over to the front. And then it was brought to our attention that we wanted the side of the front done for more residential look. And it was hardy board that was mentioned and brick type of facade.
If you proposed in this application, what it's gonna look like.
Actually, we discussed it all. It's hardy board on the second floor, brick on the first floor. Colors, I didn't really. It's really irrelevant what I like. It's really what the board likes.
You have no preference for colors of the planking that would go above the brick lower facade, is that correct? So you would have no objection to stipulating that your use for application would be for those uses permitted in the B zone that the as opposed to getting applications unit by unit by unit.
Right.
Was it difficult trying to get tenants over the years for office space alone?
Almost impossible. Because every time you have to come, it's gonna be a 3-month wait. They just think,
And your building is surrounded by uses that are consistent with the B zone.
Right.
Retail surround your premises, restaurants, stores and service units. Is that correct? Mr. Chairman, I have nothing further to Mr. Around.
Thank you. Just since you're up here, would you have any objection to doing goose lighting on the exterior of the building on Main Street?
no, Chair, I believe at the last meeting.
That would be great. And the next one is, we're referring to B zone, but there are 3 B zones. So we're referring specifically to B1,
One,
which is in the planning report. Thank you. You're done. Thank you, Greg.
I'd like to call engineer Gerard Usario.
Raise your right hand, you swear to the testimony that without making good discourse.
I do.
Sure.
Gerard Gesario. Last name is Gesario.
Mr. Usario, would you provide the board with background, resume? Engineering.
Sure. 1988 graduate of the New Jersey Institute of Technology, with a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering. I received my New Jersey Professional Engineer's License in 1994 and licensed in good standing since that time. The last 12 years, I've been employed as the Director of Civil Engineering for Jarmel Teisel Architects and Engineers. During that time, I've appeared before over 50 different boards throughout the state. Little Falls not being one of them. This is my first time here. That's it.
Are all licensed current?
Yes,
Thank you. Accepted.
Your plans in connection with this application, is that correct?
yes,
If you put your plans up for the board to see as you testify?
sure. Good. One exhibit, an aerial.
Yes. Yeah.
Bill, welcome to want that.
Yeah, we'll mark it in.
Exhibit A1 is an aerial. Exhibit Google Images, the outside outline, black line. Going straight out. Photo, you can see February 5th, 2026. Drawing on the -1. This aerial shows our site outline, 453 Main Street. It is 2 lots, The council mentioned lot 11 and 12. Lot 11 is the parking lot. West, lot 12 is the larger of the lots. Lot 11 is 0.55 acres, lot 12 is 1.4, so 1.9 lot 12 acres. As you can see, where the trees are for the site, and just to the west of surrounding areas, as was mentioned, got a mixed use, other commercial uses, restaurants, salad, crossing the street is also, residential. So, the mix usage that are adjacent to our property. Over to my site plan. As submitted. It's not on the. Question on marking.
What are the application?
Application, no.
Drawing C-100. Part of our application package, shows the existing site on the left side and the proposed site plan on the right side. From a site plan point of view, there's not much to talk about. The only improvement in the parking lot was to bring the 88 parking spaces on the road with the runner spaces inside. So that's the only proposed work going on. So, yeah, the architecture, the building, the improvements, I'll just summarize, so. Look that on that. The warehouse portion is going to remain as is. The ground floor office to be converted to 2 retail spaces. The other adjacent ground floor will remain. 2 new apartments on the second floor, both are 1 ready to go. Roughly, one is roughly 1,154 square feet. And the other is roughly 1,293 square feet. The adjacent second story businesses, so the council will remain, as we all.
Sorry, those apartments are 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom?
We have 1 bedroom plus a bed.
Okay.
Access, the stairway, I'm pointing to the plan right. Parking lot, there's a stairway there, doorway. That will serve as the stairway for 1 to the park.
Have you made an evaluation and actually inspection concerning the lighting?
Yeah, let's try that. One more thing on the program. I know. Question about the look. Color rather, but this is the hard point side. And the top, and we were along the bottom. That's the other elevation. Access, everything's the same. The parking area, driveway on Main Street. That driveway is roughly 27 feet wide. The driveway was about 30 feet wide on the parking spaces. As far as parking inside, the mix of uses requires 60 spaces. We're gonna have 88 spaces outside. So we'll be for 88 spaces. Trash collection, there's a question about trash. There are containers on site, also 2 of them this evening. The applicant has informed me that he's been operating over the containers for the last 25 years. Hasn't had any issues with access to the lighting, as just mentioned. No lighting is proposed. In the inventory of what's out there. Along the pole plan right, the parking lot, there's 3 existing pole mounted shoebox fixtures. Along the building facade, there are 5 sconces. 3 of them on ventilation. Similar to these, they're on the right side of the plant itself. Along here, there's 5 building sconces, they sit below the second story windows. 2 more on the 3rd floor, there's also 2 bottom levels on the property dial, there's an access point in the parking sidewalk along the one there. Sidewalk, walkways seem well lit. We have a light meter, so we can't testify to it. What candles work, but it seems to be that all the ones. And there's also a wall pack on the rear of this building. No landscaping is proposed, and sorry, utilities, they're all in place, all bridge up the road. That's really it.
Really not any addition, to the square footage of the building at all.
No,
And the operation of the facility is such that those using the warehouse portion of the site enter and exit along Grove Street,
Yes.
off of Main Street.
it's real. For the lot 12, and that is access to the grocery gate, the very underneath the line. There is no connection from the parking area, lot 11 to lot 12. Small, concrete, ready, color.
And the entrance and egress from the commercial portion of the front on Main Street is through the driveway, the front of the building, is that correct?
That's correct.
So the people coming and going to use the retail establishments and the service establishments will enter and exit over the existing driveway on Main Street. They don't exit through the building out on Grove Street. And nothing with respect to the industrial portion of it, warehousing, lead or enter the property through Main Street rather. And there's no intensification of anything in the industrial portion of the facility.
Well,
Warehousing, no increase in volume, floor space, or like. And there's no increase in volume of floor space in the commercial.
correct.
There's no drainage issues here by virtue of any.
There are existing characteristics on site. We're not increasing any of those.
No stormwater runoff, problem that would exist today, no increase in the same.
Correct.
Do you have any other observations with respect to the property?
No.
Thank you. Chairman?
Mr. Kovalars, you have any comments?
Yeah, thank you. For the lighting, you prepare a plan that shows the open from the lights. That's actually, so you can confirm.
We show density we got between and one meeting. That's right.
Whether you can provide that information, especially on the residential area. Have access at the time during the evening.
The issue concerned about storage.
No, it's proper site lighting, or especially the residents. In the parking, the parking.
I can tell you, if there's a light, I'll tell you the stairway. Well,
About the parking. Area where the residents tent would be parked. Is there gonna be a designated parking area for the local tent?
We can designate it, that's feeling designate. And
So, wherever that would be delineated, it should be lighting. Provided in this one. Parking.
The board will require this request.
You said that there is, loading or refuge area. So you can draw a plan where those are. City out. Like that.
have to speak louder.
We containers, keep holding on the side of the building.
Since before we were the building. 86. Over here. We moved them.
Is,
Are separate from the. Where out separately. One from that.
is it private pickup or municipal pickup?
Yeah, right.
Right.
So record on
All right, can you show those on the plan? I'm assuming those are the ones that will be accessible for the tenant.
We'll show it.
For landscaping goes, that in the rear of the property, near the Grove Street, access. I think along that fence line there, you can provide some additional landscaping, just to provide a buffer to that residential, two homes within there. That would be,
Not touching the bottom, the back half of the property. No additions, no anything. Marvin, was there landscaping back there?
There is some, but it's, there are some gaps. Yes, along that area, along the, homes. With some gaps in between them, but, I know there's some distance, but they're sparse. There could be some infill to provide a little better buffer to the residential property. Well, you don't have a buffer. But yeah, maybe from your side of.
There's, I hear you say there's a storm drain there from the top.
Everyone's playing that, there's one time. You're strong, also.
Normally be planting trees over a sewer pipe.
If it's a shallow, but if you can take a look at that, it's supplement that.
We can take a look.
Also notice the existing pavement surface. It's in disrepair. From potholes there, could be repaired. Within one of the entire building area. Doesn't necessarily fully resurface, but.
Can we hear pothole?
There into the pothole. Some other supplemental asphalt and any splits aside from. Was that technical comment for it's for what the pavement. Concrete wall, not a safety issue, it's more aesthetic, so. Not. Well, I have.
Thank you, Mr. Kovalar. Any questions to the board? Mr. Barry?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple. Is any additional signage being proposed on the facade of the building as a result of going from one tenant space to two?
No,
So,
other than that existing sign.
so if you have a,
Okay.
but if you have a new,
Hardware, Smith's.
but if you have one tenant space now with one sign and you have two tenants, will you not need two signs?
Right, to be there.
Okay.
To check, and what comes out, they take it out, they burn it.
Okay.
And we actually have extras.
And then not to beat the refuse to death, but there will be separate recycling and trash collection facilities for the residential units that will be easily accessible, not part of the industrial complex. Okay. Okay. Because the locations that were being shown looked like they were pretty far from the residential units. So I just want to make sure that they're in a location that's convenient for the tenants. And then the only other comment, there appeared to be some discrepancies with the parking calculations on the cover sheet of the plans. I would just request that you take a look at that, confirm the square footages of the different uses, and so we have a clean set for the record. Thank you. We don't need to go into it right now, just as a revised plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of the board?
Questions? I'm trying to imagine exactly where that goes, where the parking, so I don't think about the nail salon and BPS store, FedEx store, it's like. Part, your part, that's right. I'm trying to figure out exactly where they go. Oh, it is, okay. Above the line. Right, so I was, but the other question is, I was looking at this, I think I was trying to see where, where you're plumbing, so. What is placed right now? For your retail stores, I mean, you already have 2 bathrooms for each, so you are not going to. Have more bathrooms, so that makes sense. And how about the, laundry machines in the indication? Are you going to install, or are you letting the tenants to install the laundry machine? I'm just thinking of the problem. No, for the laundry, for, right. Okay. Thank you.
Any additional questions? May I have a motion to open up the meeting to the public?
Make a motion.
Second? Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is now open to the public for the Margarita application. Anyone wishing to address the board, please come forward. No one coming forward. I close the meeting.
Have, our planner prepared here this evening to testify, Alex Doherty.
Swear from the testimony that you're about to give this court to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
You start, so you say last and for the record.
Alexander Dougherty, DOUGHDRTY.
Doherty, can you give the board the benefit of the education background? Experience.
I educated at Rutgers Klaustein with a master's in city and regional planning, a concentration in development and development, certification of public policy. My license is good and current. I testified before this board, I believe about a year or 2 ago. I testify in this capacity on a weekly, daily basis, and also municipal planner for Dover and Morris County.
You are accepted.
Doherty, you had an occasion to visit the site and to review the application?
I have. I don't want to belabor this application. I did visit the site. I flew the drone, boots on the ground. Every application I testified to, I'd like to actually be able to see what's going on out there. So I do have a exhibit package, just the maps and aerial shots. If it pleases the board, I'll pass it out. If not, I'll just go right to the variances and discuss the matter that we're here for.
I'm sorry.
Your packet.
This is a D1.
Yeah.
I have just 9 sheets. I have a total of 9.
Keep one here for us.
That has to be,
This would be,
Thank you.
Thank you.
sorry, or announced.
Yeah, just wait till the rest of the quote. So, the purpose of the conversation, as the board's heard, here for 453 Main Street, block 56, lot 11 and 12, as Counselor described it. Two separate properties, really the larger the portion of the buildings will be here for, and block 12, lot 11 really consists of that. Parking straddles two separate zones, so the first two slides, we look at the zone where we are within the township of Little Falls. Generally circling yellow is kind of the walk side, but off Main Street. The next slide over, we zoom in a little bit, we kind of see just how that I industrial zone is abutting, you know, the R1D zone. And that little slither on that black line that separates from the border is really that parking that we were discussing. The next couple of slides we're going to look at are from NJDP's GeoWeb outlined in red is the property in question. As you can see, we kind of abut that rail line. Back behind Grove is some residential, and then really across the street, as you kind of flip back between pages 1 and 2, is that that business, that B1 zone. So generally speaking, that the next slide is just an aerial top down from NJDP GeoWeb, and slide 5 is going to be a Google Earth aerial view, so you see it. The next couple of slides are drone shots that I took upon my site visit on August 23rd. So we've been floating on this application for a while. In this shot, what you'll notice here is there's obviously, as the board knows, there's been some redevelopment. There's been some, new additions along Main, just across the railroad track. But in this site, you'll see on the bottom right is the property in question. The roof is at this point in stage being repaired, replenished. As you can see, that's the structure that exists pretty much today. You see the parking lot off to the right, generally what's around it, some residential in back. The next couple of shots, we spin the drone around, different perspectives. We have the church and the Catholic school off to the right, adjacent us. Again, keeping the property in question in the foreground. On page 8, we spin that around, we look behind Grove. There's that entry point for that separate industrial use. We kind of see kind of dead ends in the back of the property. Again, we kind of see the roof is being repaired, but again, that large parking lot, as you can see in these aerial drones, middle of the day, substantially vacant. As the engineer testified before, we can certainly accommodate the parking with the additional uptick in tenants as well as uses here. The next slide is just a quad, if you will, a four frame makeup of some of the surrounding conditions and uses here. Top left will be the rare steakhouse, patty corner across the tracks. You see we have some residential, we have some eateries. Top right is directly across the street. This is that B1 zone we were just discussing, as outlined. Some of the uses that we're hoping can be looked upon favorably for the site in question. They're right across the street. Bottom left is that newer housing complex, just right down kind of patty corner from the steakhouse. Bottom right is, I would argue, one of the only other remnants of the industrial zone. Looks like there's an outdoor storage kind of some machinery across the street, and it's in a pocket by itself, hidden behind some vegetation and a single structure. But generally speaking, this is a very large site, as the planner report indicates. Approximately 2 acres of size, fairly large, big apartment lot. Predominantly as on Main Street, it's vibrant, it's retail, just driving past and coming into the meeting. swell it up, with laundromat, you have the art sieve, you have the nails. There's a lot of activity here. I think for many years as Council Open, residents and the community looked at this as an amenity, some service and retail opportunities here. And that's kind of what the site attracted. As the council indicated, the time it takes to come before the board and ask for a use variance for a tenant, they've already left. But I think what I'm getting at is prior application before this board for variances for various reasons. So part of this application is chopping up one space to create a second, hopefully for some service retail or amenities for the population. Earlier this evening, we talked about how Township of Little Falls is pretty much at carrying capacity when he sees when you demo refill. City has to grow, amenities have to go for residents. This is a large site. We have another commercial retail amenity here for the community at large. That really, I think, have grown to become accustomed to this site, kind of a commercial strip, if you will, of service and retail. With that, the office space on the second floor hasn't produced a viable in some time. Discussions with the applicant, but to repurpose that for efficient use of land, provide two small single bedroom apartments there, basically for more efficient use. First right hospital choices and options. Everybody can afford anything at home. Everybody wants to go to the big apartment complexes. This is small boutique. It's there. Maybe it's one of the staff, one of the retailers are living in that unit. There's an opportunity here to provide some housing. With that, though, we do straddle through so we are here for essentially use variance. I like to think that the prior uses before this board found Medici test suitable, that retail can't be there. I like to echo some of that site has been for this board for several use variances in the past. Site suitability, I like to think we spent on every single one. Those tenants are there. This site is strictly suited that for retail exists right across the street from the business zone, which allows a lot of those retailers that we're seeking here tonight. They're outlining the planner's demo. Communities become accustomed to it. They're here. I think it's particularly suited with the direction Little Falls is going on Main Street. I would argue from a planning standpoint that it would be here strictly to the industrial zone for that larger building. I think that would be more of a deterrent or unattractive on Main Street, given the development Little Falls has on over the years. The direction retail works here, we're surrounded by retail, restaurants, eateries, services for the community at large. I would argue site suitability by the virtue of the condition of the site had to remain in the general context of where we are, traveling with zones. Make this site suited to add an additional retail as well as park it. I don't believe there's any negative effects by adding an additional retail, splitting that additional one, because we can park it until to be here, efficient use of land. The housing, I believe, when we look at that as a use variance, that mixed use component, it's when we look at the general zone, especially adjacent zone, that R1B zone, we do allow for home occupations as well. So is it atypical? It's atypical to see, let's say, a business with residency components along the street or within each straddling zones. So I would say that we're not at the character of what one may anticipate seeing along Main Street here. But again, we're on the second floor. It's well blended, and there's nothing here that would otherwise say that this is, a house or a large scale apartment. These are small one bedrooms. With prior discussions, the idea to make the soften this site so the blend more harmony with the Main Street, where the facade, we would give an appearance that this is a well-kept, mixed use. But that mixed use is really defined to just two apartments, single bedroom with a den. It's not a large scale mixed use by way of 25 apartments or 15. This is small, efficient. As you heard, washer and dryer downstairs in the laundromat. These are those efficiency units where get asked to get out of the basement. Just one of the few out of town where there's somebody transitional housing, if you will. These are those kind of housing arrangements. Given that we can park the site, given some of the comments in the engineer's report about adequate lighting and safety concerns, I do not believe that adding residential units will have a negative effect to the site as around character. You will put a zone that allows for residential uses as well as home occupation uses as well. So I think we're in that frame shown, that transition zone, that buffer. I would argue the last part of that Medici test really we talked about is to reconcile the zone and the master plan. Part of that Medici test is really the first one coming into that variance pretty much has to be to where, way in. So we have to say, well, if, the site's suitable, and keep asking for that use variance part of the zoning, use for the catalog, what we granted over the year, and considered for rezone. From a planning standpoint, I think the industrial zone in this location is irrelevant. It doesn't exist. I would argue that this site should potentially warrant the idea of potentially rezoning it to more of that B1 corridor, to be more in keeping with Main Street and what's there. I would argue industrial right on Main Street or warehousing and packaging would not be the ideal direction that's here, given the context of residential surrounding it. From a planning standpoint, bar barriers, rail lines, rivers, that kind of stuff, they still contrast from entering one building to another. We're kind of blending that now, again, a relative time, but I would say it's particularly suited by condition in the site for both the residential and the mixed use, and we'd certainly be advancing the general welfare, which is purpose A of miscellaneous law, desirable environment, purpose I, stop, upgrade, and keeping, and certainly more efficient use of land as well. I do not see any of this park utilities are there. It's more efficient use of reprogramming that interior with hopefully continued positive investment to the site, a new roof, new facade, some of the things that Chair pointed out, landscaping, fencing. I would say this in the site, the landscaping area would personally be difficult. I'm not a landscape architect. There are some robust trees or fences there, and the driveway pretty much goes right there. There's a little pocket there. I would find it very difficult plan for do anything of substance given those existing conditions, but certainly, you do find that retaining wall fence there, picking that up and patching any potholes or broken asphalt and the lighting, I think certainly adds value to the site. But outside the landscaping, I agree with many of the things in the community report, as well as the conditions and recommendations in the plan report. We need to make sure the site circulates, refuse, dumpster, lighting, safety, and the general idea that when we talk about signage, more we spent lighting than I was on the prior before. I think the comments here at the board are going to make a better application, but for retail, apartments, I think are pretty suited well suited for this.
Sir, the photograph 8 of 9 of the packet shows an overview of the site that exists today. In the note to the rear of the site, there appears to be a fulsome amount of landscaping, like big and the first trees. There's a signature trees that these have been considered foliage. First of the year, so no space for any other things.
Right, that's not the from my
That road streets up.
yeah, which I would say is the adjoining residential properties, but inside the parking lot, there might be a foot or two right before that fence that's behind those trees, and then right around the chain link fence that opens to the industrial, there's a small little bump out. It really is that asphalt parking lot goes right to the back of those trees, generally speaking.
I have nothing further from the planner.
Any questions of the board for the planner? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
You have a question?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
one brief comment and question combined. So in my report, I had noted that the situation we find ourselves in is unique in that we're not asking for a particular use for the commercial space moving forward, but rather a more of a blanket permission. So I would ask Mr. Doherty, are there any of the uses in the B1 zone that you feel may be less appropriate than others? Do you feel the site can accommodate any of the uses that I've listed in my report?
I think you hit it right on the nail on the head. B1 just right across the street, talking with the applicant doing this. That was going to be my suggestion. If you didn't make that suggestion on what uses you should use, but there was no pushback on the B1 uses. I think that's generally the direction we're looking.
Okay. And then for the board's consideration, and again, to echo my report, I think we want to define the space on the in the building on the site that would be the subject of this blanket use if so granted. And I think it's the existing commercial spaces that have been used for retail sales and service over the years, kind of that L-shaped part of the building, not the entire back half of the industrial building as well. That's a different animal. Yeah. And furthermore, obviously, any use that comes in, there would be a zoning review, and continued compliance with the parking on site would be a requirement for any use. So a restaurant, for instance, would have a higher parking requirement than might an office. So the applicant would have to choose uses that could be accommodated with the parking lot that exists.
Those comments.
Very good.
Chairman, that is our application. The board have any questions? Any of our witnesses would be happy to.
Are there any questions for the board? Thank you very much.
Chairman. I think we need to open it to the public.
I didn't know they had a planner. All right, may I have a motion to reopen the meeting to the public for any questions to the planner?
So moved.
Second? Any against it? Rocco says it. And, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Meeting is now open to the public. No one coming forward, I close the meeting to the public. Mr. Baruch, is all right.
So where are we on this? Yeah, is doing something?
Well, if you look at the overview, it's not, there's a lot of landscaping in the back.
There's some larger trees,
What
acknowledge beyond the fence line, like road, like it's.
So indicated that we could do some infill.
Right.
And I said, yes, that's exactly.
With that, the applicant's, Stephen, preliminary final site plan approval. B1 use variance, we have the apartments. On the second floor. That's the permission of retail and service uses on the ground floor. Would be the garage on that, we, the using, must be in conformance with the permitted uses in B1 site. In addition to that, some proposed conditions, now can be included relevant. You know, revised plan showing the lighting to make sure that there's proper site lighting. We designate use of tenant parking. Indicated use of permitted in the B1 zone and acceptable. We provide a brick facade on the bottom of the building with farm board. Using lighting. We provide ownership of parking places. We can override report on the technical comment, 4 and 5, we can find it. Regarding 4, period pavement areas, typically report the condition. That we declare that no instance of typical.
We agreed to that. We agreed to fill in the potholes because that would be a massive building.
From potholes. Okay.
Any
Deteriorated.
potholes or, you know, with. And
So my own page.
Just to be clear, we're not saying cold patch, we're saying actual repairs. Want to make that clear, right? Okay.
Technical comment 5, a sidewalk and curb, anyone in commercial building or repair condition.
That would be the same thing. There.
right, any tripping hazards, sidewalk. For that, if you.
That we getting by putting the show. So an area closest to the resident mass. Trash and recycling. each tenant comes in, we zone up, we make sure that it's issue parking.
Mr. Barry has a question.
There are a number of existing nonconformities on this site. Should we, Mr. Brigliadoro, address them as a variance?
Are you asking for the variances that are all?
There are only 3 variances in accordance with our zoning chart. All of them are the use variances. Everything else is pre-existing. And they're set forth in our.
I know, you're right. So you don't need, you're not asking for relief from those existing conditions?
No.
Very well, going forward, may I have a motion?
Chairman, I'll make the motion to approve this application for 2 residential units and a retail store as articulated by Mr. Brigliadoro in this application.
May I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the board.
Vice Chairman Barry,
Yes.
Mr. Karas,
Yeah.
Mr. Demiano,
Yes.
Ms. Cataldo,
Yes.
Mr. Coaches,
Yes.
Dr. Abby,
Yes.
Mr. Dolan,
Yes.
Mr. Rena.
Yeah.
Chairman Kilpatrick.
Chair votes yes, the application is approved.
Very much, Chairman, board, and
Thank you, Mr. Piero. Going to declare a 5-minute comfort break. Call the meeting, the planning board, Board of Adjustment, back to order. Next application, and I hope I pronounced this right, Raz Dispensary LLC.
Been a lawyer for 20 years and I've never met a podium that I see over there. Y'all don't mind, I think I'll just stand over here, if that's all right, sorry. How's that? Yeah. I'm gonna give the podium to the architect. And. Yeah, here's it. Okay, all right. So I'm Stephanie McClure, thank you for staying for the second half. Here, I appreciate it. We will do our best to be efficient, so that we're not.
We just have one announcement that we call the meetings, end the meetings at 10.
Very good. Oh, we won't be close to 10. I'll be in bed at 10. I guarantee. I guarantee that. No problem. In any event, again, my name is Stephanie Flora. I represent Rollins Dispensary. It is a distinct pleasure. I not represent them, but I also have lived here my whole life, which is dangerously close to 50 years. I won't say the exact number because this is on YouTube. So that said, I'll be happy to present our architect today, who has a presentation plan to go through the site plan. I would ask for indulgence to allow him to present it rather than a question and answer format. I think I would just labor things. If we would that one out. So kindly accept this testimony. I'll introduce him in a moment. I also have for the operations questions. We have an operations representative. So with that, unless the board has any preliminary questions, I'll follow the market line.
Nope.
All right. If I could ask you, please, to inform the board of your background and experience after you swear.
Yes, exactly.
You swear from the testimony.
I do.
Please tell us what you explain last.
Certainly. Ron Elkins, last name Elkins. Business name is 2 Point Perspective. And I am an architect with my license in good standing. Been licensed for 24 years in 10 states, New Jersey for the past 5 years.
Licenses are all active.
Yes. Yep. And I do have updated drawings to present. I've got full-size drawings. It looks like the easel might not be appropriate for the rolled drawings, but I do have 10 copies of 11 by 17. So if I could present those, great. And we'll bring my computer to walk through the those drawings digitally in the cell. These are substantially similar to the drawings that were submitted originally, just with updates based on the engineering reports and the planning. report. So
So is this been submitted for the bond, or this is?
this is not it. The revised drawings have not been submitted.
So where's
and-
Mark was saying?
And the revisions have been clouded with a red bubble. Well, wait. So, yes, sir. Certainly. Certainly. So the drawings that were just delivered were the updated drawings for the Rouse dispensary. The comments have been made based on, or the updates have been made based on the planning and engineering reports. And the revisions have been noted in a red cloud with tagged with the letter A with today's date. Yep. So the project, as council had mentioned, or as everyone has seen, is Roz Dispensary located at 620 US 46. I apologize, I'm coming over the end of a cold, so I'm still a little stuffy. Here in Little Falls, it is a one-story building. Actually, the address is also known as Block 203, lot number 1. It's in a B2 business zone. It's a existing single-tenant, one-story building, approximately 1,200 square feet in total, formerly used as Liberty Travel, and has been vacant for another. As we go through the set, sheet G002 just shows a few images of the exterior of the building. I'm sure you've all driven by it a million times. Small, nondescript, gray building, low flat roof, some existing signage on the property, which I'll touch on briefly. And as for the existing site itself, going forward to sheet A001 is the site plan with, as you can see, lots of minor updates to that. The site work, basically, we're not planning on any substantial additions to the building. We will be making adjustments to the exterior facade of the building, which I'll touch on later. But as far as the site work goes, we are planning on restriping the parking lot because it's faded, and I think there was a note that the striping is double striped, whereas old markings are still there partially. It's a little bit confusing, and I would agree with that completely. It is noticeably, unusual. Also, with the topography of the site, which isn't really indicated on this site plan, but there is a relatively steep drop with no guardrail, so we will be adding a guardrail for safety. There are a few existing non-conforming conditions, which the scope of work that we're proposing does not increase that non-conformity. Oh, certainly. A little bit of background noise. Sure. Everyone's coming in. They want to. Sorry. Oh, I see. Also, one of the items that was noted in the engineering and planning reports were just cleaning up any debris on the site, and there were a few trees that might either be diseased or already dead that would be need to be assessed and taken care of. And the other site work that we're proposing is enclosing the trash dumpster, which is basically just sitting loose on the parking lot right now. Keeping it in a similar location, but just enclosing it out of view. There will be new directional arrows painted and signage painted on the site, basically for traffic flow. It is a very unique site, as we've all known. It's 3 principal buildings on the site, multiple entrances directly from Route 46. So just wanting to make sure that vehicle safety is adequate. Customers and staff will come in on the easternmost curb cut, and then exit at the southernmost or westernmost curb cut. with the middle curb cut mainly being the existing entrance for, I believe that is Enterprise. Yes. We are also proposing a manually operated gate at the entrance of the property at the eastern end. That would only be enclosed, or that would only be closed rather when the business is closed as well. Mainly to keep people from, accessing the site for security after closing them. We're also planning on adding some additional parking lot lighting to the building itself. There are 2 light poles now that provide light to the site. We will be keeping those, not touching those, and just adding more lighting to the building. There is some lighting that I've noticed is a spillover from Route 46. So that's obviously out of the off of the site and wouldn't be part of this scope. As far as the interior work goes, I'm sorry, I breezed over this too. We're also planning on adding more landscaping right directly on the street frontage or the Route 46 frontage. And there now are species identified for those plants, whereas in the original document they were. Moving to the interior of the building, that would be sheet A100. You can see the floor plan of the building. The customers typically would enter from the existing entrance door. Upon entry, they would have their identification check, make sure they're at least 21 years old. And then at that point, then they would go into the general retail area to browse products and shop. As is the requirement with state law, there will be no cannabis products live, I guess you could say, on the floor. Any products would be dummy products or lower THC products that aren't regulated, or non-regulated products, t-shirts, hats, souvenirs, things like that. Once a customer has made their order, they go to the point of sale station, that counter there with the 4 cash registers, and they would receive their order from the employee, the bud tender, who would pick up the cannabis package from a 2-way secure pass-through directly from the vault, which is on the eastern side, or the right-hand side of the property. So all cannabis products are stored in the vault at all times, except when they're passed, to the customer after they're filled. Once the bud tender, or right before the bud tender gives the customer their product, they double check the ID again, make sure it is, this person is who they say they are of age, and at which point then they exit through the new exit door directly from the retail space. The windows that you see in the front of the building, the bottom of the plan, those are existing, but they will be covered with a heavy-duty security film that is also translucent. So that'll block any direct view from the parking lot directly into the cannabis retail space. That's the customer flow, I guess. The product flow on the right-hand side of the property or the building, you can see there's a dashed rectangle, which is supposed to be a representation of a delivery van. So deliveries will be made by, unmarked vans, like a Dodge Sprinter van or something of that scale. And basically, there's a new wood fence that we're proposing around that side of the building. That's also secure, like a sally port. So the van comes in, the gate is close behind them. Then they go in through I know that the ordinance basically stipulates the rear door, but due to the topography of this building, there is a retaining wall that's about 4.5 feet up. So in order to get a rear door to the building itself would be very difficult, but we did add another secure man trap that we're calling it, essentially a vestibule. So the deliveries would come in through that new rear door and then into the side of the building, directly into the vault. Once the products are delivered into the vault, then they will be unboxed or uncrated and put into the computer inventory system. And then, securely stored there. All cannabis products are required to be stored in the vault at all times, except when it's actually delivered to the customer. If there are any products that have gone off, either expired or recalled by the vendor, the supplier, then they would be stored on the top left-hand side of the plan. There's a trash can there like a typical 64-gallon, plastic trash can that you see in alleys all over the place. So, those products are stored in the site or in the property. They're not stored in the typical, trash out of the building. When it's time for that trash to be disposed, a licensed cannabis waste hauler would be called and scheduled the pickup. So then the trash can would be rolled out to that with the funds. If you go to the next sheet, sheet A101, okay, let's stay with A101. Basically, this is a simple diagram just showing the 3 levels of security or restricted access to the property. The white area, it's very small at the entrance. That's basically anybody can come into that area. And then they might be turned away if they're underage, or if they just, are bad people trying to rob the place or something. But once their ID is checked, then they're allowed into the retail area, which is, noted as the single stripe hatch. The crosshatch, the double hatch, which is the majority of the site, is basically employee access. We're also showing the wall types, how we're proposing to keep the vault secure, which is basically, there are existing concrete blocks in this build. Like there was a concrete block addition built to that side of the building years ago. Any areas that aren't secured by that masonry construction would have it basically looks like a heavy duty chicken wire, but it's a security mesh, an expanded security mesh. It's about a 2 millimeter thick mesh that is applied directly below the drywall or on the wall before the drywall. So just to limit access to those spaces. Going on to the next sheet, A102. This is the security plan, which basically shows the required cameras. There are 3 camera types that we're showing, single fixed cameras. And
Pardon me, just.
sorry, if I'm going into too much detail, just tell me to stop. But we want to block this.
I feel fortunate that we all have copies in front of us. If the board has any specific questions.
Sure, certainly.
Yeah, we're good.
In broad, in broad terms, yeah. In broad terms, every room except for the restroom is covered with cameras, multiple locations, blast break sensors, The plan is to basically track everybody's face, and the back of their head as they come and as they leave, as they go through the space, as well as all of the doors will have key fob electronic access for a digital record of who comes, who leaves, things like that. Also, with the unique condition of this building, I was able to walk onto the roof really easily. You walk to the back, above the retaining wall, walk up the slope. You can turn around, get on the roof. We're also having showing cameras, or there will be cameras on the roof as well as the exterior. So all in all, I think there was 35 to 40 cameras. Looking at the exterior of the building, sheet A200. Basically, the volume of the building will not be changing. We will be changing the finishes on the exterior, as well as adding some exterior wood siding accent elements, which will be extended to also enclose the secure delivery area. On the roof, we will be having some new mechanical equipment, as well as a small natural gas powered generator to provide backup power for all the security systems, door locks, cameras, things like that. It's a state requirement that at all times video feed has to be stored, even during power outages. So the existing sign on the building itself is going to remain basically intact with new graphics. And then on the next sheet, A201, which is also a new sheet compared to the original submittal, we're proposing reinstalling the large sign that is on the pylon side. Basically bringing back what was there, but again, with the graphics. Not expanding the size as that it used to be, just replacing it with what was damaged. I also do want to point out security. There will be a guard on site. The guard will sometimes they will check their IDs. Sometimes they will actually be wandering around the exterior of the property, basically making sure that there's no noise, there's no activity happening on the parking lot other than just vehicles, coming and going. Also making sure that there is no on-site consumption, whether it's out in the open or in private vehicles. Basically, the parking lot should be used for parties, and that's it. No parties or anything else. Odor mitigation, all the products will be delivered to the site prepackaged in either cellophane, shrink wrap, boxes. So there'll be no loose flower or plants. That'll keep the odor down. But then in addition to that, there is going to be an industrial grade, essentially, exhaust fan with carbon filtration. So that cuts down any other smells. So there will be no smells that escape the property. There will be no exterior amplified sound. I know that was a question as well that came up on the engineering report. So no speakers, no music, things like that on the exterior. And I believe that's it for the building.
Mr. Barry, are the signs in compliance? This is the first time you're seeing them, I believe.
The signs they're replacing what was formerly on the site, but they are not in compliance. The sign attached to the building extends above the roof line, which is not permitted. And then the freestanding sign is also, a replica of what was there previously, but it was not a conforming sign.
So variances would be required.
Correct.
Do you have the measurements?
We do. I could read those off if that would be helpful.
Do you have the compliance? Do you have what's allowed?
It wouldn't be allowed at all since it's a pylon sign, not a licensed sign. But there are a number of other signs in the area that are relatively new that are very similar in state.
Each application is separate.
Exactly.
The vault. Do you move all the product into the vault at night, or do you keep it in the vault and just bring it out?
That's a good point. That's more on the operations side. So Mr. may be able to touch.
Okay.
I just designed.
It's a very nice sized vault. That's what called my attention to it.
Exactly. Yeah, generally, they try to be 30%, 15 to 30% of the size.
I think too, it will be good to address the money, actually, not just the planning board, the board, that's been improving.
Yes.
But the amount of discussion about the possibility of being there, it would improve the flow of traffic on the approach to and through that. So not as an advertisement, but a safety mechanism to notify drivers that they come up to that road 46 approach after Green Road. You can see that sign from that site, maybe about info back.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, and if it was stored, we would have to either use that on one or use it as a traffic mechanism to notify drivers going on entry.
Any thoughts on that, Mike?
It's what was listed as the ID sign with the former Liberty Travel thing. Exactly. And it's still there. It would just need new graphics. There were also engineering items, engineering review items noted as far as the condition of the asphalt, the curb cuts needed to be repaired. So those are repaired as well.
Concerns regarding the driveway, installing some type of barrier to prevent things like that. Accident on this side, the driveway.
Yes,
We
we
could just,
certainly on the west of the building, there is a pretty steep drop off at the edge of what would be the Roz parking lot portion. We're now showing a guardrail there. Make sure cars don't take a tumble.
and with regard to the flow of traffic, recognizing that the easternmost curb cut will be reserved for the individual.
Exactly.
The middle driveway on the property would not be for artisans.
Correct. It would be ingress for the middle tenant, which is the enterprise.
And then our outbound curb cut would be the west.
Exactly. Sure.
And just to assure the board of the traffic flow, you had mentioned that there was going to be.
Exactly.
Would that also be stop signs at the appropriate part, in order to ensure that anyone leaving or dispensary knows that the are stopping.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, directional signage and markings on the pavement would also be included. Cause yeah, I've driven that before and it is tricky. Like you have to really get in there and you have to really get out fast if you leave through the middle curb cut.
And right now, there is no marking on. the
There's
curb
nothing,
cut,
no.
right? So
There's nothing. Certainly. And I think it would help the other tenants as well, the other two properties. Or two buildings.
That is the initial presentation of site plan.
Any questions of the board?
I have a question for the professional.
Go ahead.
What is the requirement for a dispensary to receive deliveries? Is it to the rear of the building? That's my understanding. That's a conditional use of these provides. Does this plan meet those requirements?
Not technically. No, there are a bunch of conditional use standards, A through Q, so however many that is, 18 or 19. There are several that this plan doesn't meet, a lot of them by virtue of the shape and size of the existing property. But as you heard the testimony, the deliveries are proposed on the side within a fenced area, but technically that's not the rear by strict definition.
Thank you.
Mr. Kobalaris, I believe, has some questions.
May I, would that be okay? Okay, while we're on the topic, if we could, just turn to the appropriate page of that.
A100.
Right, so is it fair to say that the entryway, where the staff would be coming to actually move the product, even back on the rear side of that new extension of the building?
Correct.
Okay, so while it's not on the rear of the original structure, it is indeed on the rear of the small building.
Yes. And then also with the enclosed security fence around the delivery van, we were thinking that the intention of having a door to the rear for the deliveries was basically to hide the deliveries in a sense. So by our interpretation of that was with the fence around the van, as well as that security man trap vestibule, and the door being on the rear of that would be kind of a double hidden delivery.
And we will certainly have management provide participants on the topic of your understanding of having restrictions, but that are also having leadership there on site class, in particular when we would.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah, this again, stated for the first time, I think I could go.
Certainly.
Signage.
Sure.
Not necessarily, but, review that and, flexible comments.
Certainly.
Just, parking lot, you described that
Mhm.
on the lines.
Yeah.
Just wanted, it's confusing, I don't know what, but, it's the existing limits of pavement adequate to create the pavement.
It is, yes. I think it was actually more spaces there before. And then we lost a couple with the loading area, enclosing that. And then also the enclosing the trash dumpster as well. We lost, I think it was like half a space, so I had to re-engineer or re-space out those spaces. But we ended up with 13 spaces still. And those were 10 by 20 spaces, so they're slightly over.
How will the striping removed? Site lighting, you mentioned, there is site lighting, again, that's the light, that's what we draw on the plan.
Okay.
Helping the area, should be nighttime operations, customers. Facilities, or one of the spots.
Makes sense. Especially in the winter. I mean, we're coming out of it. Days are getting longer, but it's still getting dark at 4:30 some days. So
I think everything else you addressed, you pretty much agreed to everything.
I think these were all good ideas, and yeah, I don't really see any issues. I mean, there were a number of non-conforming conditions that we're not really touching. So that was part of it too, with multiple buildings on the site, multiple principal buildings on the site, as well as just how the site tapers down. Very long, but very skinny, kind of unique.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Barry?
Yes, just back to the parking, because we're reviewing this revised plan. I only count 12 parking spaces right now on the A1 exhibit. I'm looking at sheet A001. And of those 12, the westernmost space looks like it may have some circulation issues of getting in and out. The one that's kind of at an angle to the rest of the. But
There are 4 essentially parallel parking spaces at the front of the stand.
okay, let's stop right there. So the gate, the swing into one of those 4 spaces. And also the trash enclosure is sticking out so that as a parallel space, I'm not sure how you would get in and out of that.
We could relocate that trash to the far eastern edge, basically justifying those 4 spaces the other way. If we needed to. And the gate would only be operational after hours when parking would be needed.
So where, if the gate is open, where is the gate structure?
I see what you're saying. It would be swung back against the concrete retaining wall.
Would that not interfere with the parking space?
We would just have them tight. So I labeled those at 10 feet. We could make those wider to accommodate that, the width of that. Ideally, that gate would actually be off of the property, to cover the driveway. We just didn't want to show it not on, in the right of way of Route 46, as well as, beyond the property.
So we talked a little bit about some of the challenges with circulation. What, somebody pulls into the property and that gate is closed. What does the maneuver look like to then get back out?
Right, that's my concern too, and I'm thinking the gate would need to be closer to the entrance to 46.
We'll have additional testimony. Something that is a requirement of our SOP. It will be intended to create yet another level of safety and environmental concerns. And that if it is supported, we won't have it. If it is it's not what fitting when we do as well, we will have robust security in a number of other ways. So certainly would not put the and there will be
And any opinion about the ability to access that most parking space. You're pulling
one that's
into
on
or
the-
out of that space.
That would require some back all the way out to where we're showing the guardrail. And then do a right-hand turn from there. And then basically do a U-turn to go down the hill, down the driveway there. We were following the existing markings, without the guardrail, of course, but that's where that, geometry came from.
We also from and we had conceptualized when was
That may be a pretty.
well, it could be if we're looking at on that western part. We will certainly try to mitigate the amount of rate relief that we would have to do. We're not going to break the full property as necessary, but if it is necessary to keep it.
Mr. Elkins, do you know the distance between the back of the row of parking spaces that are opposite the guide rail, the proposed guide rail, and the guide rail? Do you have that dimension anywhere?
I do not, but I can get that.
Okay.
It all tapers down.
I'm sorry, you said that distance is from let's say the ADA stall to the guide rail.
ADA stall to guide rail. Yeah, I'm getting 37, 30. Based on, 1 inch equals 30. My engineering scheme. Inch and a quarter. That works out to be 17.
Just
Oh, I was including the space, I'm sorry.
yeah.
Including the space. Yeah, so that worked out. So yeah, okay, yeah, so so 37, 17 and 20,
Yeah.
37. Yeah.
So again, the site is tight, and that is probably about 7 feet short of what we would typically look for access to a 90-degree stall. So did you analyze any kind of circulation templates for the property, just vehicles being able to make these turns?
We did not, since there was an existing.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then one of the conditional use standards deals with ventilation, filtration, that type of thing for the business, for the building. I think the testimony was that all of the product arrives packaged, so it would be a different concern for a cultivation or manufacturing facility, but could you provide any testimony about filtration, air handling, and so forth?
I don't know what the CFM rating, cubic feet per minute rating would be of the exhaust fan itself, but it would be a general exhaust fan for the whole space that would have carbon filtration, all that. So
Okay.
and that would be regularly maintained.
And your expectation then would be that there'd be no odor outside the building?
Exactly.
Okay.
But you're totally right that with either consumption lounges or more cultivation. It's a bigger issue.
Yeah.
The dispensary of retail.
I think that's all the questions I have for the moment. Thank you.
Thank you.
So
Is-
just to stay on the parking, where do the employees park if you have 13 spaces?
They would park at the parallel spots on the far eastern section. And the reasoning behind that is that they would be leaving less frequently than customers would to not block incoming traffic from purposes.
And is there a heavy rotation of employees during the day?
That- Most-
Kind of
but
combines,
I don't
kind,
know.
kind of, if I may,
Certainly.
I believe I read somewhere 10 spaces, 10 employees. I know it's operations, but it's also connected to parking, so I'm combining. Thank you.
Well, you can step aside if you want.
No, just
Mix and match.
1 second. So I was a little confused on the exit. So
Oh,
there's,
yes, so the,
so can you just point that out?
Certainly.
I can't really understand.
right, if I had a laser, I could do it, but.
Do you have the
basic-
bigger drawing you could show me?
I do actually.
Yeah.
Sure.
Vanna White.
We'll do it like. Basically, enterprise and then we'll obviously over here. This is what this is over here. This is the existing events and treated designated as different from them. And then. Part, like I said, and with very little acceleration, you know. So what was proposed is basically this would just be another instance only, but only for enterprise. So all three units all of this.
No, I understand now. Okay.
They would exit through, was that the pubs?
I think that's something, yeah. So there would be traffic driving through the site, and it was also mentioned, enterprise, you know, parking vehicles, where they should.
What about that?
So that would create more physical space to drive on the panels. Yeah, they're not that streets. Because they have been purchased,
Park right there, yeah.
Probably look to put a stop sign prior to that middle entrance.
I think that would be smart.
No left turn and.
Basically tell them every way possible, but don't go sugar.
And no parking sign from one left aisle, like
Right.
you, and then a two-way, take the room and become the most west.
So this is right at the hip only, this is also right in the right out. And this is the area too that was interpreted as having some damage, and needs to be repaired, curb cut as well as that. It is a little rough. And then the tree that we had mentioned before is over here. I'm not a tree expert, but when I was on the site last time, it definitely will. It wasn't just like a normal winter, no leaves on the tree. It was. Better days. It's
While you're up there doing site work and run, go check it out.
It lived a very full life.
This is part.
Yes. Does that help clarify the circulation? We're just.
I would be happy to stay with you.
We see this before.
I'm gonna try to solve.
There is nothing at all. It is.
I have a question about going back to security lighting on plan 8200. On the north facing side against the wall is one security light. Are you confident that that is enough lighting to illuminate that 77-foot wide length of the building on a limited line of sight area?
It should be, we could always add more. We were just concerned about lighting that, yeah. Good thing about this location is that it does have, or it doesn't, in that case, have a lot of immediate residential access or like neighbors around it. So I don't think we're too concerned about light pollution or like spillover. The property line is right there, you know, it's like basically 5 feet behind
Yeah.
the building. But we could add another, you know, that is a very long property and there are no pole lights on the parking lot side from the adjacent parking lot. We could always add some more lighting there if you think that'd be helpful. There will be cameras on those sites as well, but I know cameras are only as good as the people monitoring them.
Would be the police department. So-
Which is pretty good in this
So
case,
there-
yes.
If I could just ask a quick question, if you were to, petition security lighting, would it be to the western side of that building, given the size and shape of the house?
Yeah, the north facing side, which is really backs up against the retaining wall. I would propose you you install 2 lights.
Okay.
Just to increase the lighting there.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. There's also a fence right there too, which, you know, is not on this property, it's on the adjacent property. But looks like it could be, you know, repaired as well. But I think that would also, if we're concerned about light spillover onto that fence, you know, our neighbor's fence would block that.
Yeah.
Address how water and sanitary sewer provisions are for the site.
We are not proposing any changes to it. It's existing. That is a very good question. We do not have a civil engineer on the property or on the project, but as far as I can speak to the sanitary, all we're doing on the sanitary side is reconfiguring the bathroom that's there now is not handicap accessible. So we're basically installing one new handicap accessible restroom and one mop sink.
Served by a public sewer connection.
That is a good
On-site
question.
sewer, so.
That I would have to do some research on. Unfortunately, I don't know off the top of my head.
That would have to involve them.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm certain.
Maybe some upgrading which are into something.
Yes, we would add them. It's been vacant, it's been vacant for. It is a septic system unique to that property. Yeah. Right. It's likely.
Okay.
And we'd be happy.
Can we go back to the parking for a sec?
Certainly.
The handicapped is all the way on the opposite end. And there's only one customer entrance and exit, so they're essentially have to go to the other end of the building to enter.
You could adjust that. Put that next. The loading area. That would.
Is that going to interfere with the fence now? And is that employee parking?
Employee parking further. The four, say horizontal or parallel parking spaces would be the employee dedicated spaces. But there are 2 between the loading area and the trash enclosure. So we could take those 2 spaces and make that one handicap space and then the access aisle next to that. That would be a little closer to the building entrance.
Okay, so by taking up those two spots, we lose one.
Well, then the access aisle on the other side would become a regular parking space. Basically, a handicap space is just two spaces side by side.
That gets even narrower than our 17 foot to the guide rail with the access aisle next to the ADA space. I would just have real concerns about the ability of any kind of larger vehicle to get in and out of that space.
True. So if we put a parking space here, the it's just tapers down, somebody backing out.
Yeah. Right, so we do anticipate, of course, having stop signs right there, and it is a smaller.
I'm not so much worried about the conflict with the drive aisle. I'm worried about literally getting a car in and out of that space. Typically, you would require 24 feet. We're probably looking at 15, so we're deficient by quite a lot in that area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either, well, first start by.
True.
Save by. Obviously, we want to priority to that. You don't want to, you get anything involved, or longer. However, if we do end up moving, we can certainly reserve it for, full cardinal. Abolition. As. I think it will be comforting to, when we get to the part of the presentation, that it is the intention of this to minimize traffic and put traffic altogether. Operating.
Yeah, just looking at any other way to configure the parking, and unfortunately, with how narrow the site is, with the existing topography and all that, that's why we basically stuck with the existing layout.
There are rules for. There is a.
Will you go back to G005, which is the cannabis establishment site distance exhibit?
Yes.
There appears to be a measurement in the center of that line that I can't read for the life.
On those plans, it is microscopic. That was surveyed as 498.03.
Say that again?
498.03
feet. Yep. And what relevance does that have in respect to complying with the ordinance in Little Falls?
So because it is a state highway, the DOT has jurisdiction over how the measurements are done along the state highway. It's the New Jersey Access Management Code. And as defined in, I have the citation, I'm happy for it, but for policies of uniformity along the state highway, as well as avoiding erratic development, and I the appropriate way to measure business to business for the purpose of checking uniformity is the center point of the entryway curb cut from one business to the center of the entryway curb cut other business, which when you're dealing with a cross highway business to business measurement is a free. So that's what that.
So how does that measure?
I'm sorry.
The requirement is 500 feet.
Right, and it measures 498.0. It's from the center point of the entryway curb cut from one business to the other. And when we're dealing with businesses on top of the side of the side, it is a radio, get over them.
So the lot lines are approximately 170 feet apart.
That's right, yeah, to be there, we saw that measurement, and were it on an ordinary street, a non-state highway, certainly that would be an important factor for us to obtain from. In this case, because it is completely different, I would say, the DOT and your definition control the measurement and control of the measurement between different things. And this was the policy. Policy behind it is the state Department of Transportation needs to make sure that access between businesses on highway is safe and also peaceful. And also there's a policy to avoid erratic site development. So for instance, we have two competing businesses that are opening up near each other. One might say, right, well, we will build a long breezeway to move our entryway towards cornermost part of our property, and by doing that, we will extend our structure into the no-go zone, thereby knocking out. But what that would cause is quite an erratic development along the highway, and that was not policy thought with. So in addition to access points being uniform along the highway, it's also a policy of movement making sure the competing businesses aren't erratically developing for strategic.
Let me ask a little, so, if, since this is a township ordinance, if the governing body that adopted the ordinance made a determination that imposing the existing separately two similar types of business. They had in mind, you're looking at, they put 500 feet in, they had a reason to put 500 feet in. For them, saying from the 1,000 feet from the store.
Right. In the same way, the governing body also specifically reserved this area or the B2 area, which of course is small, for this particular use. And in the original, right, right.
And that's, we have all the conditions. The ordinance and where you actually want conditional uses, it's more specifically at 7 and 7 has some subparts to.
In the original version of the ordinance, that was written and passed at the same time, of course, as that 200 foot rule. It did not have a maximum number of class 5. Now, I realized that after our letter of approval was issued about 2 weeks later, the board passed an amendment to indicate that no additional class 5 would be able to apply after our. So given that amendment and given the size of the zone, it would be an impracticality not businesses that did not impose on that. Also, because it is a state highway, I would also say because it is a state highway, then the appropriate mode of measurement has been determined by the definition of the New Jersey State Highway Access Code. And using the governing mode and method. It is in fact 500 feet give or take.
I'm a little confused. Are you saying that your grandfather? Are you saying that your grandfather?
Is that the state DOT has governing jurisdiction over development on this stretch of highway. And because of that, they have determined how to measure conformity with various measurements along the state highway. And in those definitions, it specifies where to measure to and from when looking at the two businesses.
And this is for purposes of highway access. That's the code section of administrative code you're citing, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So.
But the state does not state DOT does not exercise zoning jurisdiction along the highway. You're not alleging that that's the case. Okay, so the township zoning ordinance is contrary to this measurement perhaps. We don't know because it doesn't actually tell us how to measure.
But, right.
But-
Respectfully deficient in talking about how to measure that by. In the absence of a town regulation saying how to measure, i.e. door to door, center of the lot. In the absence of that, the DOT regulation.
Is there a provision in the regulation or case law that spells that out?
I mean, just as a matter of general jurisprudence, it would be said that if the town had an interest in defining the mode of measurement, so the plain reading of the statute would be.
This board only has jurisdiction over what's in the zoning board.
That's kind of my point.
And I'm certainly not.
But I don't think we need to beat this to death. We all know what the numbers are.
Reality. It is important to note, I think we all drive that highway, if not daily, multiple times. And for all intents and purposes, this is not going to be a situation where people are saying, oh, if I don't have what I need here, I'll just go there. That's a good 30-minute drive. Absolutely no one is doing that. And this is also a section of online, not what we have operations on. So this isn't going to be a business hopping population. They're going to likely have dating their person. And if they're coming to the site at all, we'll be going to a particular site where they can get the perfect, not balancing these two. It's also important for the board to know, and I'll talk about this a little more closing, that by having to in this, I guess, expanded, or stabilization, that it'll call, I've done when I made that, amendment that I referenced earlier. We keep consumer-friendly pricing. So right now we have one business, and it is the only business of its kind in North Jersey. So for all folks here and up, will be serviced by that business for competition. And what happens, of course, when one business controls pricing, is they control the pricing in their favor or not. So by having another business, and this is something operations will talk to, not only will we have more variety and diversity in offers, which drives the price up for profit for reasons. But also it keeps the prices for little ball folks and everybody in the area. And I think that's something that we all would have to address in from just a basic competition perspective and non-monopoly type being more friendly with the regular public.
Does that have anything to do with this ordinance? Any business that operates any place in your house, there may or may not be a certain level of competition.
Sure.
That's not really the voice.
No, but what was the concern was certainly how many licenses to issue and the place in which to put them. And in this case, when we applied, that's okay. It's short.
That's the reason why I imagine down here in condition of the truck that we're not in permitted.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the reason why the number of conditions in the.
Sure.
So if you wanted to put up, you'd say, I want to put a flower shop there, I don't think, you know, wouldn't have to deal with it.
Sure, of course not, but certainly the town then would also get from. But what I would say, no, But what I would say, well, actually, that's not true.
I disagree, and I hate to interfere. I'd like to get back. We're interested in footprints, measurements, bulk area, and the price does not concern us.
Sure.
In fact, in our training, we're told not to consider pricing or how much it costs to do such a thing. So can we move on?
By saying that my comments were left to the idea of specific regulation as they were to the overall well. But without full, I did. And that's certainly, I'd be happy to move on.
Hey, it's a question for Mr. Rivera. If, this is obviously under the 500 feet distance, given the 498, and the other business hold this board liable, like, will they come at us for something for being, approving this? And having the business within the distance of what the township put through as a, under the 500 feet?
It would be a situation where if anybody feels aggrieved by this, somebody feels they're aggrieved by the decision, you would have to feel the board's decision. Challenge would be whatever, or improper grant of the balance. Explain why. You can get the agreement.
There are no further questions. I'll be happy to present our.
Are there any questions to the board members?
Actually, I have for Mr. Brigliadoro. Is there a number of cannabis establishments that Little Falls allows? Just in general throughout the town?
From a licensing perspective, Mr. Board, she's correct. There were, Mr. Jones has a class 5 dispensary, retail dispensary license. And this farm has obtained a license. My understanding is that that's the total number of licenses that the governing body has determined
That's correct.
that they will issue.
So with that, I would excuse Mr. Elton. And calling out Mr. Daniel White.
So. You swear from the testimony that the report from the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, and then.
The whole thing was. Said go away, because on the page.
So Mr. White, just beginning out from that, your operation. Looking at. Some lessons. So, for how many years would you say the team collectively has, for managing, operating, scale, operating, throughout?
Arguably, when we start, 1 year ago.
20 years. And through those 20 years, approximately how many cannabis retail establishments have been?
We are about 50 plus dispensaries. We have cultivation. So you see this all.
So 55 year old. Oh, and one that's 15 grand. 55. Right.
Yeah, we have cultivation, we manage cultivation, manage dispensary.
So as an overarching question, would you inform the board that the specific SOP envisioned for this particular property in the Old Liberty Travel Building has been uniquely tailored for the size of this?
Yes, we based it on square footage of this location, and parking and
I've overheard some concerns, but due to the size, we didn't make an SOP like it was gonna be 3,000 square foot shop where if we need 50 employees, 15 employees, 10 employees. It's a very small operation per se, due to geared specifically to the location.
Would you say that it's a micro business style operation?
Absolutely.
And by using that term, that means the maximum of 10 employees. total.
Period. Yeah, not at one time.
And explain to the board, please, the idea, I mean, obviously there will be an ebb and flow, but how many employees between what and what will be on site at?
But so just due to trade secrets and such, I just kind of keep it over the minimum, but I have no problem answering anything off the record. So, I got trade secrets.
Tell us.
But-
General hours of operation.
Right.
Start with the food.
Right.
You typically,
So-
if you have more than one.
It'll be give or take 3 employees at one time. Split between 2 different shifts, give or take. Or if we have it as opening up at 6 and closing on it. I want to say 10 p.m. Yes.
That was supposed to be reserved for veterans, not
Right.
Is that like nationwide? Because I hear that from time to time. That it's open from 6 a.m. to 9 or whatever for veterans.
Yeah,
Industry standard?
Sorry, I'm a little hard of hearing.
Oh, you're not alone.
do that, why, open early.
Well, due to the flow and the traffic control, I guess that we just put that in the SOP. It doesn't have to be that.
It also ensures, additional patients receive
The
the
first-
first fruit. So they're not coming in later in the
And
day.
it's in the selection.
Can I ask one question? Okay. I know you like us to listen to the end. Anyway, the question is this: how do I gain access to this dispensary? Is it by appointment? Can people simply come?
Again, there's going to be more incentives for the and online on. So we're pitching more so for nobody being slow.
Think of it like a pizza parlor. If you could go pick up pizza, or you could have, if Domino's is going to bring you your pizza, would any of you want to go and get it yourself?
But if I were to go, would I need an appointment?
I don't know that that.
No, we don't have an appointment set up. But, I feel for veteran. Thanks. It's hard, but I feel like, because again, it guarantees them their product, whether it's that or.
Does the board, have a concept of the pre-ordering structure? It's within the regulations, so we're not giving, trade secrets in that
Yeah.
regard, but, a pre-order, how would you define that?
Do you mean as far as?
Well, what is it?
ordering it,
I mean, I know it's not.
Delivery,
But,
pre-ordered.
meaning you
Go
got,
online, you go online, you pre-order it. So you go online, you pre-order it, and then it would be set out for delivery,
so,
or pickup, depending on the incentive. Of thing to get.
All right, so there isn't a control. So what if 10 people arrive at the same time? Where are we gonna put them?
so at the same time, there is sufficient parking. But what I would say is that that would be unusual given the structure of the incentives.
That's what.
Specific, and that's what I said, what I meant when I said, when I elicited the testimony, that there is a very specific SOP made for this site. Not the same as across the highway, it's not the same as in New York. It is intentionally to service this community and the surrounding area through the use of what I called in the application, being very close cost. And that is something that is going to be, different from, what was in the area, but from through and.
Funny actually, when you say the robust delivery system, these all the applications that I sat on. My understanding that you're not allowed to deliver to. Say, a homeowner orders something, you're not allowed to make a delivery at all.
Again.
No, but I do. It's in the regulation. So class 5 retail licenses, do not need to get the special delivery license. In the regulation, you are allowed to deliver your own product. So that is in the actual California Act. There's a specific regulation for it. And we built our, SOP that of course I won't go into, but we built it along a parallel structure following that statute for the delivery to the home. There are a lot of regulations to make sure that the person who's delivered that they are paid. That's all the statute and.
Let's say separates, because it could deliver someone else's.
Classic is the DoorDash.
Like, yeah, like that. They could go to said location, pick it up and local one. But you are allowed to deliver your home product, just like Chinese food.
And how is payment made when you do a delivery?
How was, I'm sorry?
How is payment
Payment
made?
is already made on. Bring.
Okay,
There's no cash.
Right, there we go.
okay. I didn't know you were allowed to use credit cards for the purchase. You can? Okay.
I were allowed to use all debit cards. There's been.
Yeah, again, it's, but. I think that might be a little bit of a trick.
Well,
I mean, it catch up the bag, but there are certain.
Regulation is there to.
Yeah, okay.
So who is making the actual delivery? A
The-
vehicle from this location?
Right, so it would be a delivery, let's say. They're employees of Ross that are making the disbursements in unmarked. Vehicle, including, security boxes.
So it's not their personal vehicle. So does that take away another parking spot?
No, so. No,
I like
but
it.
again, by the time, see, this is, again, there's a specific logistics to when they're not even gonna be there.
They won't be paid.
But they won't be.
That's part of the 10 employees that get hired.
On their part, they will.
What you said about the delivery. So that means that.
No, there is a relation from part of this. It's checking that we.
Right, and the same way as buying it in the.
Yeah.
So just as someone can go in the store and then bring their home, just like this. In the same way, perhaps the delivery is even more stringent, the delivery. So I would say, when someone comes into the store, they need to purchase it. But when they go home, we don't know who's home. We don't know if they're gone. We don't know if they're going to a port. We don't know if they're going to. The opposite is true for delivery. An employee actually goes to the home and knows the regulations that it must be done. So it needs to be a car or any vehicle, they must be received by the person showing matching ID, put to the state. So I would say that safety, because we know the home, we know who they are, we know that they are.
So given all that, the delivery car are they allowed to do multiple deliveries or do they have to make separate
So-
trips each time?
All aspect of
Oh, you're gonna,
The law is what you do.
But
That's-
that's not, sorry, but I didn't mean it. I don't know if you asked. No,
that part, but.
Trying to gauge the frequency of that delivery car.
Both law and the
Yes.
indicate that multiple are delivered at once, although certainly. Is
Will
that
you-
what you would say?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Will you be utilizing the man trap for loading and unloading of your delivery unit?
As far as the employees picking up and moving their.
Yeah, your delivery person. Yeah. So they'll be utilizing that area.
And
What's your average delivery per day? Yeah, across your 50 property.
this specific location.
Well, I don't think you know that yet.
Right, I mean, I'm not overall, I don't know if I could answer any of these.
To be happy. And of course, and those specific numbers, but on other. You're quite well. But.
So you can't give an estimate for how much hypothetically you
In this
think might be
area,
for this
yeah.
particular site. You can't answer that question?
That's different.
Right.
Actually, we can certainly give an as opposed.
I mean, ideally.
Well, I mean, it's not an operating site yet, so we don't know how many. I think it's the same question.
Ideally, I think that's the benchmark. but nobody said something. Well, I know, I want to see that, that's not just swaying, so, but the plan is for safety, the plan is for security in the location, secured full of people. You touched on a little bit about the security cameras. We are planning on having Little Falls Police Department have one or two guards on a rotation day at said location. It's okay, I can see it, set both of them already, but that's. It's bad.
Will be surprised.
Right, yeah, as far as lighting goes, making sure that everything's well lit at night, security gate was put in place or proposed. So no one's close to the building after hours. We also have cameras that are gonna be in the parking lot. I don't know where we stood with the manning those cameras that were outside from parking.
There was discussion about having a line release into the municipal police department and we're not. The intention to have them. I think we probably have statewide announcements that are, were already published.
Oh.
And because of that, we are at.
As far as, right, yeah, already in 2026, I'm thinking it's already up sales or 16% or 17% for this time last year, which was, one of the number of, as well. but,
$17,000 per day.
No, it's a 17%, but this time in 2025, it was $1 billion in sales, and right now, it's already 17% higher than what it was at that point. So, I guess just to say that it's still growing.
Is there a figure compared to the sale for 2024 where 2025 ended as far as measurable growth?
There was some 17,000.
Could you tell us how many dispensaries Raz operates in New Jersey and which is the closest one? Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
None for
Not
us.
for us.
So Ross is closely held in the company and management will be and operation document.
Oh, I see. So he's an outside Mr. White, you're
And on that,
Mm.
the owners of Brad are
in the pharmaceutical industry, pharmacies. I'm not going to say where they have them in New Jersey, but I'm not going to be able to specifically speak on that, but in New Jersey, they have.
So how many facilities do you manage in the state of New Jersey, and which is the closest one?
I don't know, my landscape.
I know, I know. There is one within, I would say, 10 miles. Is
Yeah,
that accurate?
I would say-
About 10 to 12 miles.
Okay.
Never had any problems
No.
as far as regulation, licensing. Actually, out of all of your products, have you ever had
No.
any problem with?
No.
Fine, well, like,
So Mr. White, you don't own Raz, you're just managing Raz. Did I say that correctly?
Yes.
And so when you said there's 50 stores, that's that's what I'm saying. Your company, I'm guessing,
Walmart's, right.
manages 50 stores. This would be the first one in New Jersey.
well, no. It would be
The first Ross,
Ross.
yes.
It would be not the first company that.
Oh,
Have you disclosed the owners of this Roz or?
It was on the original application.
It was, okay.
It's also fully within the state application. They
Mhm.
are licensed operating pharmacies, never an registration problem. And I think it would be appropriate when you say that in that industry, much like it's with CDL, you have medicine order, you go, you get it.
Mhm.
That is the foot style practice, the amount. And that will be, this isn't a hangout spot, nothing to hang out. You come in, you pick up your CVS order, and you, to the extent that people are really
Very good. It's 9:44.
kind of it.
It's, well,
Me,
you're gonna be late.
is there submit or in writing that would help answer any questions that might be given the hour? I certainly don't want to be able to answer any questions. And if you can't think of them now, I would certainly be happy to entertain any questions sent by. There.
Are there any questions? Continue.
The conditions of the commission. I know. Vary for. Minimum of 40. Issues that are not compliant with. Are there any others that we're aware of?
So A is not met. Let's, E is not met.
I'm sorry, Mr. Barry, that's A.
A is in apple. E is in Edward. No.
That is all of the area of the minimum setback shall be limited. Such that a 5 foot area immediately in front of the building shall be permitted. Such that exiting which the driveway shall.
There had been an updated drawing to talk about the landscaping and the something that I spoke to Mr. Barr about. Our plans do come into compliance. So I would say, other than the distance requirement, which is pre-existing, all of that landscaping is.
It can't possibly. You have a driveway between the building and the highway.
Yes, I understand.
So you physically cannot meet that condition, no matter what you do, except redesign the entire site.
I suppose I'm phrasing it improperly.
Okay.
It was addressed in the design, but it was still, of course, technically not.
Right.
That's
That's a better way to phrase it.
A and E,
E, which
continue.
is the location of the parking, which we've been over. Then next is, well, M, about the location of deliveries. It's the side of the building. I would maintain is where the access point is. We've heard the commentary about the fencing and security and so forth. And then lastly would be the distance requirement.
BQ,
Q, correct.
If I can inquire, Mr. Planner, given the fact that the door to the man trap through which the employees would be going to load is in fact on the rear of the new structure, is there, I suppose while that is on the side, while the new proposed man trap is on the side of the door to which the employees would be going is in fact.
Sure, you're offering planning justification in testimony now, not avoiding the fact that you need the relief. It's the side of the building. There's absolutely no question that that's the side of the building.
All doors.
Okay. And then Q is the distance between, we talked about that. Depending on how you measure it, there are 3 different numbers potentially, but none of them are 500 feet. And then for the record, there's also a D1 use variance in consideration, which deals with the 3 separate principal uses on the property.
Right.
And has to consider the suitability of the site for all 3 of those uses to coexist.
why don't, she hasn't addressed the positive and negative, unless I missed it.
No, I was going to, want to be reserved on that. Getting.
Well, it shouldn't take you 10 minutes.
It is, I'm Italian. Just about anything takes me 10 minutes, but I'll be brief. I think overall we have a lot of positives here. Granted, we have some issues with regards to parking that are indeed mitigated by the general SOP. Again, while we have not been able to really get the pretty updated operating procedure, the overarching goal is to have less, if any, people inside this building and to have retail happening. That is the vision. Different is not an ordinary system. So with that said, this is a SOP that is built for this property. It is well suited because it's intentionally well suited. It was built that way for this property. Certainly is well suited for the town as well, and I know I won't get into this too much, but as far as being positive, certainly there is nothing else that is feeling that this kind of is going to bring the amount of revenue to the town. Not only will it have 2% of the service and but it will have 2% of the service. Bars are will bring the which is quite wide. And given the fact that this is more than most spot where the dispensary is located, that is robust and robust. We also have a Little Falls First hiring feature. We have a Little Falls First discount feature. We have lots of incentives in that way. Again, close competition. If this is precluded, your residents as well as residents of the town will be subjected to an ipso facto that's not good for anyone. Not only the prices go up and down, but statistically speaking, it's been published that the more SKUs that are offered to customers, the larger their basket. So that said, the amount of revenue that comes to town not only will be increased by the existence of business, but also by the existence of diversity of products. Right now, the products across the street are made by Scent and Scent and one company, the Dell Boat Company. Only one company's from our company being different, or your company being different. We'll have, a pick from a number of top brands, not just the exempt product. So that said, we also intend to be good neighbors and stewards of the property. It is our intention to use what is necessary to not only beautify it, to be safe. As you saw with the monument sign, if you want us to use that for traffic safety control, we will. If you want it not, we'll do that. It's our intention to be good neighbors and to do a maximization of this property by virtue of a unique and amazing. And that, I would say, outweighs the negatives, which are, we may have to bring up the level of a corner parking space for that even down. We may have to have certain incentives to space out a flow of traffic. We have a police officer on scene at all times, just in case there is any need to have an officer either address the traffic issue outside or to dissuade any potential wrongdoer. So we have those downsides. Certainly, there's a lot of pretty consistent issues that I would submit. Don't necessarily need relief, but I did notice them. Just in case the board feels that really brief by them, I noticed them and we have them. That said, in accordance with Westwood, certainly, which is a lower standard than for B1, even variance. I would say that we have the established evidence that shows good outweighs the bad. And that would indeed be well, tailor made and benefit significantly the council. That all. My client.
Any questions of the board? I'm sorry, are you resting? Are you finished?
My client just mentioned that the lease is contemplated to be 20 or 40 years long, so we do intend to share. We don't intend to be a flash and we intend to integrate right within it. Right.
Are you resting now?
Yeah. Time.
You did. And there are many Italians in this town, so we understand.
Thank you.
I, of course, am not, but that's beside. Any questions to the board? May I have a motion to open up the meeting to the public?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion is, I'm sorry, meeting is open to the public and you know the rules, Mr. Veteran.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. No, it's late and I'll be brief. As you may know, I represent Tri-County Lexus, Bob Cooley Auto Group. They're the owner of 700 Route 46. They own the property next door. They acquired the property several years ago behind this site. So they're very familiar with the site. They're very familiar with the limitations and the problems with this site. And one thing this site can't handle is a robust delivery system. This is a site that is perched on top of a cliff. Many of us remember Liberty Travel. They were there for over 45 years. Remember Ivy Cat Smith. She had 2 part-time employees. Great lady, but there was very limited activity. There was a travel agency. It was never, ever anticipated to be a use like this. Now I'm hearing not only delivery, I'm hearing people making appointments. I'm hearing people coming to the site and what happened now delivery as well, which I didn't understand. And what happens is the detriment to someone like Shizuli Auto Group is where do people park? They're going to want to go to this site. They're going to see the site. They're going to access the site and they're going to park at Shizuli's property. And that's not fair to someone who is a taxpayer in the town, who has a permitted use in the town to take an issue because this site cannot handle this. You know, their very own architect said, and I'm quoting him here, that the access at this site is tricky. So a tricky access point and backing onto a 17-foot backup where you need 24 feet on top of a cliff, like this is insane. This is not a site that can handle this type of intense use. We're looking at also the distance between the two locations. We know how to measure feet in Little Falls. We look at this all the time. How many feet is this from the backyard in the R1A zone? How many feet is this in the B1 zone to a neighboring property? How many feet is this to a church? We do it lot by lot. So the number in my estimation is 107, not 498. I don't think we do it door to door. And I don't think that the state has any jurisdiction here whatsoever. This is a Little Falls issue. It's a Little Falls ordinance. If Little Falls wanted to, when they were putting this ordinance together, they had the ability to say that this is how we're going to define it. Short of that, it's lots a lot, just like we have on our own streets, just like we have in every zone in this town. So I think when looking at this, we look at public safety, and this is going to create a public safety issue. The Shazulis are very concerned about this property going in. They see it in other towns. We don't have to look too far to see the amount of activity and what happens to a site that is inadequately parked and doesn't have good access, let alone one that requires a D1 use variant based on the fact that we have 3 uses here. How that got approved, going back to the 1950s, I don't know, but it's there. And I think it's this board's responsibility to make sure that whatever goes in there has a particularly good use. Now, if this were just a wholesale only cannabis operation that didn't have any retail aspect to it, didn't have deliveries, didn't have that may be something that could be worth considering. But the problem is if this is permitted by this board, the detriment's not only going to be Shazuli, it's going to be the entire community. And I urge the board to vote no on this application.
Thank you.
Yeah, we heard it.
You certainly may.
Thing. What I would say, and I think that's absolutely more respectfully to our neighbor, again, it is indeed our intention to be respectful of our neighbors and have the best. So first of all, I would say to mitigate any concern that Mr. Schooley may have, we will certainly make security aware of their concerns about parking. And if anyone parks in any place they're not supposed to, the security in front will simply not let them in. In other words, there will be efforts made to mitigating it. Certainly, that is something that the municipal officer will be aware of on site. And as they are roving the property, both in and outside of the building, they will be needed to additional markings and the parking signs we will add to the safety of the property and the lessening the risk that somebody will park. What I'll also say is, while I certainly respect the comment, I have to say that the vision is off. So the vision is to have, as Ms. Cataldo had asked, well, will the delivery vehicles be parked and stored on the site? Well, they won't. This is not going to be a situation where we have vast amounts of in and out traffic. We'll be having minimized deliveries, fill-ups in that man trap, and then out on the highway, delivery of largely pre-ordered or all pre-ordered items. Again, I know that it must be hard to conceive because we haven't been able to put the complete SOP before it, but I think we have put enough so that you see our vision, which is much less than a CVS pharmacy counter, but it's largely built in pre-order, largely built on delivery that would be mass bulk to vans and then sent on the road. So this idea that the parking lot simply can't handle it, our business was built specifically for to make sure that the last people that want any kind of issues is we want to be here for 40 years with us at least. We intend to be here a long time, and a part of being here a long time is making sure that we get along, making sure that it's safe and So, back to concern, not only have we taken efforts to mitigate that long before even, signing the lease, this property was built by management and sized to scale, as far as foot traffic, and then built to the. So I respectfully do the comment, but I certainly understand them, and I thank you for it.
And does that conclude your presentation? Thank you. Mr. Brigliadoro.
And then Rich, there are bulk variants requested for the signage as to the roof sign or sign projecting above the roof line of the building and the freestanding pylon sign would both be bulk variances as part of the application.
This is any other comments? Mr. Kovalar? Thank you. Any other comments from the board? For sake of discussion, it's a very difficult property to work with, period, no matter who is operating a business out of there. Lot dimensions are tight. Traffic circulation is difficult. Does not comply with Little Falls ordinance number 1516, distance 500 feet to a similar establishment. Anyone have any comments? May I have a motion? You want me to make the motion?
I'll make the motion that the board not approve the application as presented tonight.
May I- I'm sorry. I don't know the second.
Second, Raj.
Discussion?
While I think the application has a lot of merit, I believe the location has fatal flaws, both as described by the chairman with the site plan, but most importantly, its proximity to the other licensed establishment in Little Falls. I just can't get past that obstacle, so I would vote no.
Any other discussion?
I think that there's just too many unanswered variables that don't make me comfortable in voting. Yes.
Valerie, please poll the board.
Yeah, remember, seven.
Vice Chairman Barry,
No.
Mr. Karat,
Pardon me? The motion was to not vote for this application. The motion is to deny. So if you support the motion to deny, you vote yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Thank you for the clarification. I vote yes to deny.
Mr. Karat,
Yes.
Mr. Luke Demiano,
Yes.
Ms. Cataldo,
Yes.
Mr. Post,
Yes.
Dr. Abby,
Yes.
Chairman Kilpatrick.
Chair votes yes, the application is denied. Moving on to other business, under old business. We have a request.
And sorry, no suit tonight, Mr. Chairman. John Federer on behalf of Lawrence Kramer and Catherine Brown, we're respectfully requesting an extension of time to file the subdivision deed. As the board knows, we have 190 days from the date of the approval of the resolution to file the subdivision deed. When we were going through the details of nearly 5 acre property between Chilton Drive and Inwood, it requires some additional surveying. That took additional time. We're still working through the subdivision with the county because of that, not changing anything at all with the application. We believe that we'll be able to get this. We believe we'll be able to get this done within less than 6 months, but we're respectfully asking for a 6-month extension to file the subdivision.
Do we need a motion? Mr. Counselor, or can we?
Engine reports. No, 6 months. Would be from the beginning, more about extension.
That's more than enough time. Thank you.
Need a motion?
Need a motion.
May I have a motion to approve for a 6 month extension for site plan filing?
So move.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Motion for adjournment?